back to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
And we're back from Times Square. Glad to have you with us on That Kevin Show. Sherry Rigby is my special guest, and she was an actress the last time we spoke. Now she's a director, so we got to be really, really careful here. The most powerful position on the movie set. Sherry, if we can get the content that we want, and we can curate it, and we can have what we want, and we can kind of live in our own universe that is of our creation, of our making. Now, I don't necessarily believe that that is inherently bad by itself, but something that your storyline really kind of points out is that it can become a myopic existence, and that if the world is to really be impacted by those of us who have skills to impact it, we're going to have to get our nose off that screen every now and then.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point because, and going back to what you were sharing earlier about being fishers of men, right? That's really what I think this movie is all about. It's the discipleship. It's about going out and how do we actually do that? What God calls us to is to serve him first and then to serve others, to love him first, to love others, right? And so I think through this thing we call social media and this platform is to be reminded that we are all influencers in some way, shape, or form. And no matter how big you think your platform is, no matter if you're Taylor Swift or no matter if you're the housewife at home, you have the opportunity to influence. And so how do you do it and do it well? And so I think that's the question in this movie is how do you tackle this within your family, within your own life? How are you serving through the influence that you have and do it well, the talents and gifts that you use? And that's really, I think, what we wanted to share with this movie is, you know, Liv Golden didn't lose by the end of the movie that she was no longer an influencer. She actually was just using what God had already given her, the talents and gifts and the love, the passion that she already had. He enhanced it because she found him, number one. And number two, she realized that the true influence came from serving others. And in doing so, she could use what she was given to do it better and do it to serve her community. And you see that. And I think that culturally, we as believers have to ask ourselves the same question.
Yeah. Well, what I would love for people that are watching right now to do is, or listening, either way, if you're on radio or TV, doesn't matter. But what I'd love for you to do is not only to watch Divine Influencer for yourself, but then to, after you've seen it and you've kind of comprehended the mission of the movie, is invite 5 or 6 friends that are anywhere on the faith spectrum, whether they haven't crossed over into belief in Christ or not, whether they're living kind of an offstandish life to their faith, or whether they're somewhere trying to seek a deeper existence. I think this is the kind of movie that, because of the humor, because of the charm, because of the message, because of the production quality and values and everything that's attached to it, you can use this to be a discussion starter of great substance to the people that are in your life. And particularly if there are people that you care about from a spiritual perspective. You know, there's very few of us, Sherry, that will ever tell our story about how we came to God without mentioning the name of someone who challenged us to consider it and to think on some level. And this movie, to me, and from the very first moment that I kind of grasped the concept of it, is like, this is exactly what this was meant to do. This is meant to be that big challenge, but in a winsome way that we don't do enough of. And hopefully people will say, hey, I'm going to wrestle with what you've made me think about here.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point because we did really try to craft the story in a way that people could come and sit down and go, how is this, you know, they ask themselves those questions, right? They can share it with friends that are on all different spectrums of where they're at as far as their faith goes. But I think the interesting thing that you just said too, Kevin, was, you know, with introducing it to friends and asking those questions. I was just on with another young woman here not long ago, and she was sharing how after she watched the movie, she actually took a step back and really wanted to see about some of the things she was doing in her own life, what she was actually putting on her own social media, how she was actually influencing others, but also how she was doing it in a way that was in her community. And these are all big questions, and they should be something that we're talking more about today. And we think that our culture that the world tells us, because we see it all in the politics and the news and social media and the superstars. They all say, hey, we're doing it. We're serving all these people. We're so about everybody else. But the reality is they're not. They're actually more about themselves and how many likes and comments and shares they get versus how are they actually encouraging, sharing, and making sure that they're standing for the righteousness of God, the glory of his kingdom first, and then loving others well where they're at.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Sherry Rigby, great to see you.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
You got it. Kevin McCullough coming back from Times Square. We're having a little fun. Stay with us.
Ready or not, he'll be right back.